Allegedly, FromSoft just outplayed everyone. Uh, Watching this guy's video, Legendary Drops. Check out his channel. Let's see what he got to say. Oh, that's great. Give me a second. Ooh. Okay, there we go.
They're calling it a $40 mod, and some
The way I be muting everything all the time, bro. Streams are a mess. Let's start
guys, I'm gonna
again.
be honest with you. I don't think that I've seen people more divided over a game before. You got people that love it, people that hate it, people that are screaming it from the top of the hills. You got people that are calling it a $40 mod, and some people that are saying it's a blatant cash grab. But whatever it is, there is a wide spectrum of emotions and opinions around Elden Ring Night Rain. Some of it based off of things that a lot of you guys don't even know about. But it makes a lot of sense because if you look at Night Rain and you look at Dust Bloods, well, these two games, I mean, they look like a pivot from any FromSoft fan's perspective. And that's going to worry some people, especially with how successful they have been, incredibly successful that they have been over the last few years. These games have a lot of mechanics and a lot of themes that are completely foreign to the FromSoft formula.
See what he's saying. But it's like exciting at the same time because imagine, right? Like FromSoft can bang out a fire game in an area that they're not usually specialized in, and then it actually hits. Then FromSoft just becomes the company, bro. Like if they can move out of Souls like games and make a different style of game and it still hits, FromSoft is just top two, bro, and it's not number two. Sorry to say.
And we're talking about games that have massive, massive audiences. Elden Ring has a massive audience. Dark
Here.
Souls has a massive audience. And a game like
Uh-huh.
this is going to divide that audience. I've played it. I've had a lot of fun with it. But I
See, and that's the thing. You just gotta have fun, bro. Get on with some friends, play some Night Rain. Come on.
have my fair share of criticisms and a lot of my concerns as well. But from an industry perspective, there's some things that are just so fascinating about this game. I mean, this is a non-live service multiplayer game coming from a AAA studio, and we just don't see that ever. So today what I want to do is I want to talk about some things that very few people know about with this game. I want to talk about what it is and isn't. I want to talk about the player reception around the game and what this game means for FromSoft's future. But before that, today's sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by Rocket Money, the app that I
Man, I
use to pretend
love
like I
you. I love you and get your bag, but I don't think we're gonna be watching the sponsor.
I expected Elden Ring Night Rain to do well, but what I didn't expect is it hitting over 300,000 concurrent players on day one, holding steady throughout the weekend, selling over 2 million copies in just under 24 hours. That is a rare kind of launch, especially for a spin-off that is as weird as Elden Ring Night Rain, and especially given how mixed the feedback has been online. Critically, it's doing
Now, by the way, if y'all go to watch his actual video, Legendary Drops, FromSoft just outplayed everyone. Make sure you do watch that. I just for the purpose of the video and for the stream, we're not going to.
fine. It says 77 on Metacritic and 80 on OpenCritic. Steam reviews started out mixed, but then climbed up to mostly positive after a patch had fixed a couple of things, and the game had a little bit of extra time to settle. Not exactly a
Bro, mind you, this game looks so freaking beautiful. They're saying it's just reused assets, but the vibe, maybe it's the GUI that's tricking me, but it just gives off a different vibe from Elden Ring entirely.
triumph in comparison to some of their other games, but it's
It's
nowhere
so
near the
beautiful.
disaster that some
I
other
mean, and
people are trying to.
mind you, Elden Ring was beautiful as hell too, but this is getting near there. Like this might be as beautiful, if not more beautiful, than the entire Shadowland from the DLC.
Make it out to be. Actually, thinking about it now, I think the only reason why this game stands in such high contrast is specifically because of how successful FromSoft has been and how massive Elden Ring was. It's one of the most celebrated games in the past decade, reaching almost 30 million copies sold. Anything mixed or just all right is just going to look bad by comparison. At its core, Night Rain is still unmistakably FromSoft.
Okay, I just peeped something. Like, hold up. If I like it, I'm gonna show y'all something. Can I move this over here? The first video. The first video is why Elden Ring Night Rain. Hold up. Wow, right, Night Rain solo is so hard, the solo problem. Bro, this is the same shit they say every time some new Souls-like content drops. Elden Ring on first release, everything was too hard. Fucking shout out to Urchu, everything was too hard. It's really just a leveling curve. It's a difficulty curve. Like you don't have the same boss patterns down. Once you get down to it, I guarantee you within a month you're gonna see no item pickup challenges, beating Night Rain with a wooden club. Like, bro, people are gonna learn the bosses so well. It's gonna be so light. Why did the desktop audio mute? How long is that muted for?
Boss design, the gear, the atmosphere, it all feels familiar. But layered on top of that are systems and ideas that, for a lot of people, feel like a betrayal. You have shrinking zone mechanics like Fortnite or Warzone. The pacing is faster. There's no fall damage. You can use spirit stream jumps to launch yourself across the map or ride on spectral hawks. Structurally, it's a roguelike boss rush with limited persistence, and that's a hell of a thing to attach to Elden Ring's name. So
It's
I
fun
get
as
it, I
hell.
really do. If you're someone who loves Souls games, if you associate FromSoft with tightly authored RPGs that reward slow, deliberate play, this game probably feels like it wasn't made for you. And the fact that it leans into these modern trends that have become synonymous with monetization, with live service burnout, with games that are chasing the market rather than leading it, well, that's going to set off some alarms. For a lot of players, Night Rain doesn't just feel unfamiliar, it feels like a warning. People see games like Night Rain or their upcoming game Dustbloods, and they start getting BioWare flashbacks, a studio that was known for deep character-driven RPGs, pivoting to shared world shooters, multiplayer experiments, or live
Call me biased, but I don't think FromSoft could ever fall into that. FromSoft, I mean, not like it could it ever happen, but the standard for their work is too high,
service
man.
projects like
Like
Anthem
consistently, it just they would be shooting themselves in the foot if they were to go down that route.
that they have no business making. That pivot didn't just fail for those guys, it poisoned the well. It destroyed the studio and its reputation. So now, anytime any beloved studio starts reaching outside of their lane, people are bracing for impact because, well, we've seen how this story ends. So believe me when I say I understand the skepticism. This industry has trained us to be wary, trained us to see every creative pivot as a potential grift. And when you've been burned enough times, pattern recognition becomes a survival instinct. But I think that Night Rain, at least from a business and design standpoint, is wildly misunderstood. What most people don't realize, and FromSoft should have made this blatantly obvious, is that Night Rain isn't the standard FromSoft game. And I think a lot of us can tell that, but this game was not directed by Miyazaki. This game isn't a part of some grander vision.
Thank you. No, I was literally about to say that. I was waiting on if he would say that, but yeah, this whole game is basically like a side project that some other director was working on. Miyazaki's in on it. It's not like this is where FromSoft is going. You know what I mean?
Well, I guess it kind of is in some ways, but it was a test, a low stakes experiment that was led by Junya Ishizaki, a first time director who quietly has been shaping FromSoft's DNA for over a decade now. He started as a level designer on the original Dark Souls back in 2011, then went on to be a level and battle designer in Bloodborne, and later the combat designer for Dark Souls 3 and Elden Ring. Some of the most iconic encounters and mechanical highlights in the studio's industry, and he had a hand in all of it. Night Rain is his shot, a small scale, controlled opportunity to take the reins and try something new. It reuses a ton of assets from the Soulsborne library, especially with Elden Ring. It was developed in under 3 years, and it was
Yeah, that is another thing. The reused assets. I know that people complain about. I mean, it's like standard FromSoft at this point, bro. There are in-game lore bosses that there should only be one of, like the Red Wolf of Radagon. Why is that motherfucker near the Rise in that? I can't remember, but why is there two of them? There should only be one, right? Like according to lore, they reuse assets a lot. It's nothing new, and it's cool to see Dark Souls bosses in Night
made
Rain
on a
and Elden
shoestring
Ring.
budget compared to AAA standards, and it's $40 for a reason. If you guys take a step back for a second, everything about this project screams insulation, risk management more than anything else. A creative sandbox that was built with the quiet expectation that it might not do well. And the wild part is that Miyazaki more or less said this himself. In an interview with The Guardian last year, he openly admitted that they were preparing for failure and they were trying to build a culture that could survive it and learn from it. In an article from The Guardian written by Keza McDonald titled The Game Design Secrets of Elden Ring's Hidetaka Miyazaki, Keza interviewed Miyazaki on his design philosophy and the future of From Software. She wrote, Miyazaki is an extremely hands-on director and all of his games bear the unmistakable imprint of his influence, but he has also been attempting to pass down his knowledge and artistic approach to others at From Software in the 10 years that he's been its president, ensuring that they too have room to fail. Budget, scale, scope, everything has grown to the point where room for failure isn't tolerated as much as I think it was in the past, he told me. FromSoft has its own way of hedging risk, so to speak, in that most of our projects have a partner who's financing the project. From a business management perspective, we're not betting everything on one single project. At the same time, you have to find the right place to allow for failure. Whether it's smaller in scope or scale, or it's a smaller module of something bigger, there needs to be room for that. I think that's where a lot of young game directors will be challenged and be able to learn from it. Making sure you can understand and identify where those pockets of failure can be allowed is how you try to grow talent. Miyazaki views Elden Ring as a turning point for From Software. Before and after Elden Ring, there's going to be a clear difference. You could see that with Armored Core 6, I would say. He hopes that we will soon be seeing games from other directors at the company, not just himself. Where From Software is right now in terms of scale, I would say that Elden Ring is really the limit. We've tapped every resource and talent that we have to access it. Scaling it even bigger, I would have my concerns. Perhaps having multiple projects is the next stage where some of the other younger talent can have the opportunity to manage and direct game design for a smaller project.
No, I actually didn't know a lot of that, which is interesting. But yeah, this is that bro, that quite literally is a turning point for FromSoft. I'm not gonna lie. Bro. It's not like we couldn't get Elden Ring 2. I'm sure we love that, but I don't think it's really on the horizon, right? Because they're not even. They said scaling it even bigger. He's had of his concerns, trying to have multiple projects. Okay,
I mean, you really can't get much more direct than that. When you line up Night Rain and Duskbloods right next to Miyazaki's own words, it all starts to click together, especially that one line. You have to find the right project to allow for failure, smaller in scope or scale, or a module of something bigger. I think that's where a lot of young game directors will be challenged and able to learn from it. That is not vague corporate speak. That is a roadmap, and From Software is following it to the letter. Junya Ishizaki is that young game director.
that's encouraging though. At the same time, right? Because Miyazaki's purposefully, like maybe not Miyazaki just himself, not to glaze my goat, but it seems like they're trying to take a direction where they literally will just split up the effort in order to give younger directors a chance, in order to give younger game creators a chance, which is pretty dope. It's pretty cool.
Night Rain is that smaller, self-contained project reusing assets from other games. Duskbloods, that upcoming PvEVP extraction game that From Software
Is there is there no fall damage in Night Rain?
for Nintendo, likely funded by Nintendo, is likely the larger vision here. One that borrows from what Night Rain has already tested, the zone closures, the co-op scaling, the faster travel, random gear. These games aren't random departures, they are sequential steps. And the funny thing is, this isn't even the first time that these guys have done it. It's just another step in their strategy. I think a lot of people completely missed that Armored Core 6, that game was just as calculated. Mech games were and still are relatively niche. So that game was going to be a gamble regardless of what they were doing. It was made with less than half the budget
Didn't even know FromSoft made that game.
of Elden Ring. It was the first project directed by Masaru Yamamura, another longtime FromSoft dev that was stepping up to the plate for the first time. And while most people now see AC6 as a clear win, part of why it feels that way is because expectations were in check. Nobody was expecting that game to be the next Elden Ring, and most of that audience didn't even show up for it. That game sold around 3 million copies, not 30, but internally, it was likely considered to be a success. The risk was measured, the new director got his shot, and the studio proved that they could branch out without overextending. Say what you will about the end product of the strategy, but from a business perspective, this is some of the smartest project management that I have seen from AAA studios in years. Most publishers do not do this. They do not hedge. They go all in believing that the audience and the money is going to be there based on whatever their reputation is or whatever the industry trends are. These guys dive head first
Someone give it up for FromSoft. It's the best company out there. It's never gonna fall off. Y'all can hold me to that, bro. Y'all can hold me to that. FromSoft is
into
literally
brand
goaded.
new genres or live service pivots
Just drop Elden Ring too for us, you know.
without any safety net. BioWare with Anthem, Rocksteady with Suicide Squad, Arcane with Redfall, Crystal Dynamics with Marvel Avengers, and it's not always live service games that are killing some of these studios. Sometimes it's just the scale, the pressure, or the wrong project at the wrong time. The pattern is always the exact same, though. A big bet, a big miss, and the fallout lands on the devs. What From Software is doing here isn't just cautious, it's sustainable. They're building a pipeline, and the smartest part
You're fucking right. That's honestly within expectations, but adding the magma worm to any portion of Night Rain in any capacity is fucking retarded. It's fucking stupid. My fault, bro. I hate the magma worm so much. They're not even
part about
really
all
that
of this
hard.
is
They're
that
just
it's the
annoying.
quiet admission that Miyazaki can't and shouldn't be at the center of everything forever. If this studio wants to grow, if their games are going to evolve, then that knowledge needs to be passed down. That trust has to be built. And like Miyazaki said, you have to carve out space for people to fail. That's not a strategy, that's leadership. Hell, it's the exact same kind of bet that they took on him back when Sony funded Demon's Souls. He was the guy
Yeah,
that was just working his way up through Armored Core until somebody finally gave him a shot. Now he's doing the same thing for the next generation. That is not a step back. That is the clearest sign of a studio that's thinking
like that's my goat, bro. That's my goat. Yo, Miyazaki is the goat, bro. This is literally, bro, top five people of all time. Miyazaki up there, bro. I swear. I swear. Probably Abraham Lincoln up there as well for freeing the slaves. You know what I mean? And Miyazaki up there. But those two for sure. They're locked in top five humans of all time. Oh yeah, nah. Jesus number one, bro. It's light word. Jesus number one.
long term. If you guys have watched this channel for any length of time, then you guys would know that my biggest criticism of AAA is a lack of strong leadership. And what they're doing right now over at FromSoft is building up strong leadership. They realize that they have it with Miyazaki, and they're trying to pass down some of that institutional knowledge, some of that skill to some of these other developers and some of these other directors so they can continue to make great games in the future. This is something that you just have to do. I've
Mm,
also told you guys, make sure you stop paying attention to the name of the game, stop paying attention to the name of the studio. Instead, start paying attention to the name of who is directing the games that you enjoy. Because more times than not, those are the guys that have most of the influence in the studio. I mean, they're the director after all. They are directing all of these teams as one. And that doesn't mean that great directors can't fail. They definitely can, but these are the guys. Their leadership is what brings everything all together. Casey Hudson left BioWare after Mass Effect 3. Then we got Mass Effect Andromeda. Bruce Straley was a part of Last of Us Part 1. He was not there for Last of Us Part 2. That was all Neil Druckmann. World of Warcraft, Cataclysm, and then on. Completely different management structure, completely different leadership. That game changed forever. 9 times out of 10, when a game is failing to meet your expectations, or if it just feels different in general, the most jarring part is it's just the leadership that changed. The direction of the game changed. I highly recommend that people start looking into this because it's the best way to be a educated consumer. Well, I think that opinions are going to vary with Night Rain and also Duskbloods in the future. I
mm.
have to respect the measured risk and growing talent from within. There's a quote that I grabbed from J.K. Rowling that says, "It's impossible to live life without failing at something, unless you live so cautiously that you might as well not have lived at all. And in that case, you fail by default."
Like J.K. Rowling got some bars. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I don't know. Lots of people hate her, but she always gonna be at least goaded for making one of the best franchises in the entire world. Harry Potter hits. Come on, bro.
FromSoft recognizes that they could just go make another Dark Souls, which they likely will in the future, but they need to experiment and they need to give their junior talent, their junior directors, a shot if they're ever going to have any sort of a future as a studio.
Bro, come Game Awards at the end of this year, because bro, Miyazaki. I mean, they be lying. They're like DLC for Shadow of the Tree won't be bigger than Limgrave. It'll be about the size of Limgrave. Uh, no plans for another Elden Ring game. I think so. I think that's what they said. They gonna drop Elden Ring too. They better.
Because Miyazaki's not always going to be there, and he can't be a part of every single project. I think it's important to temper our expectations when it comes to some of these games. Not Things change regardless with any of these studios. Not every studio is going to nail it every single time. But I don't really think that Night Rain is necessarily a miss. I've played it. I've had a lot of fun with it. I definitely have some things that I have issues with, which we'll talk about. But I think that it represents something that I want to see more of in this industry, especially from AAA. And that's just multiplayer without live service, because it just feels right. I put a good chunk of time into Night Rain, and I think that I have seen most of what players have been praising and most of what they've been frustrated by. But I want to start this out by saying, damn, does this game feel good to play? The movement is so fluid in a way that FromSoft rarely embraces outside of Sekiro or Armored Core. The traversal is so fast and reactive. It's almost arcade-like in a lot of ways. Vaulting over walls and climbing over things is so much smoother after their latest patch, and there's just something so exhilarating about being this quick in a Souls game. Night Rain just kind of lets you go. And despite all the things that this game changes, it's still unmistakably Elden Ring. The world design, the music, the tone, the enemy variety, the combat, it is all
That's a big thing, bro. Mobility. Oh my goodness, bro. If we had base mobility like the sprinting and rolling and wall climbing in pure Elden Ring, oh my, that would be so fun, bro. Mix Sekiro mechanics into Elden Ring, parry-based combat, uh, the movement. You literally have peak, peak.
here. Structures and spatial layouts that
But yeah, like expanding Sekiro to this huge open world map with on the scale of Elden Ring, that seemed kind of
stream
difficult.
from software. And because most of that foundation is familiar, there's basically no onboarding learning curve here. If you have played Elden Ring, you can pick this up instantly. That instant familiarity is one of the game's biggest strengths. It lowers the barrier to entry without dumbing it down for anything. The core gameplay loop here is just fun, and in co-op, it really starts clicking together. Fully co-op boss fights with 2 other players, especially if you guys are actually in voice, especially if you have friends to begin with, shows that this kind of real-time coordination can actually work. One player can pull aggro, other players can hang back with range support, and roles will shift naturally throughout the fight. It's flexible, reactive, and it's way more satisfying than I expected. Honestly, it makes me believe that an Elden Ring style MMO might not actually be that crazy of an idea after all, because for the first time, it feels like an action combat system could actually support it. Now, I brought this up in
Hmm.
my Lords of the Fallen video, and it's something I really liked about Code Vein 2, but I've always had a soft spot for these games that loosen up a little bit on the Souls formula, ones that let you breathe a little, games that don't demand your full concentration every single second that you're playing. Night Rain fits that mold. Faster pace, session-based, fully co-op, and it's built to respect your time without watering down the entire experience. I will also say that the progression system caught me off guard in a good way. I didn't expect much, but the way that the world evolves between runs adds genuine replay value here. Take down the first major boss, and suddenly there's a massive crater that splits the map in half. Harder bosses spawn inside of it. There's a secret upgrade that's waiting at the bottom. Other times, there's an entire scarlet forest that engulfs half of the zone, reshaping the landscape and throwing your entire route into chaos.
That
What's
seems
nice
sick.
is these shifts aren't just visual, they force you to reevaluate your pathing, rethink your objectives, and adapt your whole strategy. It's got that roguelike unpredictability, but with the kind of world building weight that FromSoft normally brings to their games. And the Remembrance quests are genuinely cool. Not only are you hunting down these Night Lord bosses, but you're also chasing these character specific quest lines to recover their memories. These unlock some of the best rewards in the entire game, and more importantly, they are the roguelike mechanics in a lot of ways. Each
Okay. Okay, so that's sick. So yeah, my first impression was it was just straight up a rogue, not even a rogue like just a rogue where you die, you lose everything. Well, after the play session is over, I'm pretty sure you have a couple of lives. But when you die, you lose everything. But that's cool. There's like character quests where you can keep stuff even after the game session is over. That's pretty sick.
completed Remembrance will give you a chalice. That chalice will let you customize your relic loadout. It's one of the few systems in the game that gives you some real agency during your run, and honestly, I think it's brilliant. Now, of course, I do have my complaints when it comes to this game, and the most baffling one of them all is how do you launch a co op first game in 2025 without crossplay or even basic multiplayer features?
Yeah, I've heard they didn't have like chat and stuff. But did I just see an ancient dragon? What the hell did it just
Co op
do?
first game in 2020 when it comes to this game, and the most
Oh no, this is an action move. I thought I saw
baffling
something
one of them
else.
all is how do you
They
launch a co op
No, no. I feel like I haven't seen an ancient dragon do that specifically. Maybe it's because I'm not like waiting under them,
Top
but
first
still.
game in 2025 without crossplay or even basic multiplayer features? What the fuck, From Software? No in-game voice chat, no text chat. You can play solos or trios, but you can't play duos for whatever reason. That
Yeah,
is
no, that is dumb, bro. Like, imagine you're trying to hop on a game with your girl, and you have to get some random in there. It's so
a
weird.
real problem because Night Rain demands coordination. Roles matter. Bosses hit harder. You need to know where you're going, what you're doing, and what you need to get before your run ends. And without any real way to communicate, every single match with strangers is going to feel like a gamble. One game, everything's going to click. Somebody's marking the maps, calling the shots. You guys are having no problem clearing through the game. It's going to feel like a real co-op experience, but the next, all of a sudden, you're stuck with a team who's dying to low-tier mobs, and since players can respawn as much as they want until they die to the main boss, there's no fail state, there's no reset. You just waste your time. A simple voice or text chat feature would fix this, but without it, you're stuck. Now, speaking of knowing where to go and what to get while you're
Or imagine trying to use text chat on console. Must suck for y'all.
actually in a run, while some of Night Rain's more core features and systems are great, the actual roguelike systems on the map are incredibly weak. And look, roguelikes are probably my most played genre. I have sunk countless hours into Risk of Rain 2, Hades, Balatro, Slay the Spire, and a long list of other games. And what makes those games click is how deliberate progression ends up feeling. Each run is a fresh start, and each choice that you make layers on top of a build. It's strategic, not just reactive. Take Hades as an example. You pick a weapon. After that, every single room is either going to offer you a god power, a passive bonus, or a currency. You make choices, re-roll, stack synergies, shape the run. The longer you go, the more tailored your build ends up becoming. It's not just about power, it's about expression. Night Rain doesn't give you that. It throws powers at you with no synergy, no pathing, and barely any control. It's random in the worst way, scattered,
Yeah, yeah. They took that battle royale thing like way too literally, man. It's like you just gotta hope on RNG.
incoherent, disconnected from how you're actually playing
I was like, why did I see? I mean, you can use a bow and use a great hammer, but that was it's an interesting build if you look at how it would be in base
the
Elden Ring.
game. Yes, there's a map filter where you can go and hunt for specific weapons, status effects, flasks, and consumables, but that rarely clicks together. Most of what you're finding is just weapons. Carrying a few of them of the same type of passives will give you a slight boost to damage or status chance, but that's
You use spells without staves and staffs. Okay.
pretty much as far as that system goes. You might get an HP or FP boost or a stamina buff or one of those slow walking aura farming passives, but none of it actually ties back to a build in a meaningful way. Most of the build crafting in this game happens outside of the run rather than inside of the run through relics and remembrances, both permanent unlocks. But that system is hidden behind FromSoft's esoteric world building and quest design. Most players are probably not even going to
Hmm.
realize that there's a quest log in the Keep's journal. Most will assume that it's just lore and they're not really interested in lore, so they're not even going to take a look at it, and they're going to find out either through a YouTube video like this.
Oh, you're kidding. Nah, burn this game, bro. FromSoft needs to actually stop doing that, bro. You can't just add two bosses and then like that makes it harder, bro. You gotta stop.
Or they're going to search for it online, and that's the way that they're going to figure it out. If you never open that menu, you're going to have no idea that there's a whole layer of progression that's been tucked away. Now, once you're inside of a run, you're most likely just scavenging. Maybe you're going to find a weapon with the right element that you're looking for if it's on the map at the time, or if it's on the right path that you need for the rest of your team. You'll hit a few Shrines of Baraka on the way, upgrade your flask, grab a couple of smithing stones or minor buffs if you can. None of it
Mm,
actually feels like you're building on your class or your weapon in a meaningful way. It's just a bunch of
okay.
disconnected systems with no core loop that's holding it all together. And yet, despite all of that, I still enjoy playing the game. I really enjoy playing this game. The movement, the combat, the boss fights, the sheer speed of the game. There is real energy here. But what I think really holds this entire experience together, what makes Night Rain a good game to play, is the fact that it has Elden Ring in the title because it's built reusing its assets and its world. The controls are sharp, the world is familiar, the core systems are still here, but that foundation is doing a lot of heavy lifting here. But Night Rain is exactly what it's supposed to be, an experimental title. FromSoft is trying something new on a smaller budget with a new director at the helm. And yeah, some of these parts are rough, extremely rough in some cases, but some parts genuinely shine. And for $40, fully co op, no live service, no microtransactions, That kind of offering, especially from a studio of this size, is almost unheard of. Actually, I think it is unheard of.
That's the Fromsoft is the goat. But I mean, a video already long enough for me yapping. That's probably as far as I'm gonna take it. I mean, get night in, bro. Have some fun. I guarantee you, in like a month, 2 months, FromSoft is always clued in. They listen to their community. They'll probably fix a lot of things. So I hope y'all enjoyed. FromSoft really is the goat, man. Play Elden Ring, Night Rain. Catch you.